Okay, so despite the good and the bad, you've weighed it out and you think, you at least want to consider an academic job. The question is, how do you get there from here? How do you get here from there? How do you make that work? Again, I go back to the sort of one of the general points of my talk is that this is a really path-dependent process. Events, accomplishment, things that happen early on set the stage for things that happen later on. And there's virtuous cycles and there's vicious cycles. So you really can't afford, and in this increasingly competitive environment where the bar has been raised really high, you can't afford to be like, wait until the end to be thinking about it. You need to be thinking about your career from the very start and what's going to be strategic for you and how are you going to get through this in a way so that at the end of the day, you have what you need to get a job. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 things that I think are not necessary for success. Some of these are necessary for success, very useful for success. And these are things that you need to cultivate all the way along the path and that will stand you in good stead, okay? And these things are, first of all, academic accomplishments. Obviously. Doesn't matter how charming you are, what a wonderful teacher you are, if you don't have publications, preferably lots of them in good places, you will not get a top academic job. If you don't have any publications, you probably won't get any academic job, except possibly in a community college if you have other teaching awards and things like that. And even there, the bar has gotten really high. So you need to have academic accomplishment. That is not negotiable. You need to have a little bit of social savvy. Not a lot. We're talking about academics here. There's a little bit higher tolerance for, the odd duck, but a little bit of, don't underestimate social savvy, okay? It can matter, all right? It's not going to be, well, it might be make or break. Hopefully it won't be make or break, but, it does matter. A life outside of academia. You may not need this. In fact, I'm sure many successful people don't have this at all. But I think personally that it's going to help you survive the process. Because, you don't want to just end with a job. You want to end with a job and a life that is worthwhile to you. And having a life outside of academia, I believe, is really, really key to that. Don't let your life get so narrowed so that all your friends, all your activities, everything that you do is centered in the university, because that is a recipe for disaster when things go bad in the university, and they will at some point or another. You want to have other outlets in your life, okay? And the last thing is luck. Let's be real. You can be strategic as you like, and there's going to be luck. Right? It was lucky that there was an opening in my area at UBC the year I was on the market. No matter how stellar it was and how the other things, that I carefully put in place, there wasn't a job there wasn't going to be a job there, and I was going to end up somewhere else. And there are other things along the way that were lucky that happened in my life. So luck matters as well. All right. So let's think about, yeah?
Can you talk a bit more about your second point, social savvy?
I'm going to talk a lot about social savvy. In fact, I think that I have the most pages on social savvy, which is not because I think it's the most important, but because I think it's the least obvious in some respects. So I'm going to just defer for a second. I'm going to talk about academic accomplishments first, and I'm going to spend less time on those because I think that those are the most obvious. You probably all know more or less what you need, and then I'm going to talk about social savvy. Okay.